Yay!
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. I just want to send the next person a little message that we might be like 5 minutes late. Just one sec. We could probably do it in 20 minutes, but just in case.
Are you doing a bunch of them back to back?
Yeah. And I was just starving, so I was just eating. So now all my lipstick is gone. So just give me 1 second. So I've just been like back to back all day.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. All right. So what I'll do is I'll just introduce you, and you can tell a little bit about yourself. And I'm trying to keep this not like a network marketing pitch. Like my real purpose of it is so that we can all use it to show to whoever we want as like sort of inspiration that women can have it all, that they can build businesses, that they can build entrepreneurship, and they can raise kids and have families all at the same time. So it's not like something that we're trying to do to like solicit business. And I want you to feel like comfortable about sending it to your downline, for that specific person or anybody. Like, hey, you guys, we've got a whole bunch of women entrepreneurs here. Not one person has mentioned their business at all that I've interviewed so far. Some of them aren't even in network marketing, but just, to kind of get past that like stuckness that some people are having, or just to promote just women. So when I introduce you, if there's a way that you can talk about what you've been doing without necessarily like really kind of telling people what you know what I'm saying?
Right. So, because
You
we
could
all
say
have
something
very
like you could
different
say something
stories,
like
right?
you worked in the corporate world for a long time. This is what you were doing, with your kids while you were there, and then you took a position. You could say in a network marketing company. I don't mind you saying that, or with a nutrition company, whatever you want to say, that's providing you with different types of compensation or pay structure. Da, 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 da. But like I'm not mentioning DoTerra. Like I had a unique girl. She's not mentioning that. So all right.
Okay.
And at the very end, I'll give you an opportunity to just say where people can find you if they want to follow you, and you can talk about your new project or whatever you want to talk about.
So the other thing I can do is talk more from the perspective of women and
You
stay
can
out
talk
of.
about whatever you want to talk about. I want it to be something where you're able to share your story of how you've worked so hard for the last 20 years in this business. Has it been 20 years since you really started with network marketing and from the
It's been at least
transition?
that long.
What?
It's been at least that long.
Okay, yeah. So I want to talk about, and you raised kids during it. So, that's what I want to do is be able to talk about, what it was like climbing the steps in the corporate ladder, what it's been like building a new business, and however you want to mention that is great.
Okay.
But I really want people to feel like, wow, these women have done it. Of course I can too, kind of thing.
Right.
And then when we go
I'm gonna.
live on April 21st, or whatever date, I think it's the 21st, I'll have to look and I'll send you an email, then basically all of us that same day will promote it so that people can watch it, or the week before we'll all be promoting it. Hey, like just like Eric Worre's doing with his videos today, we'll all do that. So
Right.
you have a massive network of people, right? And we're not selling anything,
Yeah.
we're not mentioning our companies, we're really just using it to help other people figure out how to be women who can have kids and have a business, period. So the point will be is like, the week before, 2 weeks before, we'll be, sending out, designated emails to our lists or Facebook media or whatever we want to do, and then it'll all go live, and then we'll be able to take advantage of all of these conversations.
Okay, I'm going to stick something on my door so that people don't walk in.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
And then you're just going to ask questions, right?
Yep. Okay. All right, ready?
Yep.
Hi, everybody. This is Haley Hobson, and I'm so honored today to have my friend Milan Jenson on the line with us. Milan is an amazing entrepreneur. She's been first working in the corporate world for many, many years, climbing the corporate ladder to success, and then recently has her own new business that she's been working on. Well, it's not so new, probably for the last 7 or 8 years, right? And now is on to more and more amazing new projects. And all this time, she has been raising kids, getting kids grown, and running her own businesses at the same time. So I want to share with you, Milan. Welcome, Milan.
Thank you, Haley. Great to be here.
Yeah, it's so great to have you too. Will you tell everybody a little bit about your story and where you started and what you were going through and maybe the trials and tribulations of what it took to be at this amazing place in your career right now?
Thank you. Yeah, I spent most of my life in the corporate world. I actually started in nursing, quickly realized that was not a good fit for me because I had a closer connection to people than I could have working in the ER. So I started opening urgent care centers with doctors and realized that they were making a lot of money and I really wasn't. So, but all of those are great experiences. And then it comes an opportunity to become a trainer and a speaker, and while I was pretty much scared to death initially, it was a really great place for me to meet people and connect and travel. I think the challenge was I was also a mom of 2 little girls. So the girls were about 20 months apart.
How old were they, Milan, at this time while you were launching this up?
Yeah, so I think when I got into that part of my career where I felt like I was really climbing a ladder, so to speak, they were about 8 and 10.
8 and 10.
So, they were in school and active in their lives, both very active in athletics at the time. So I had to surround myself when I had to travel. That was a real challenge because I had to surround myself around with other people that could support me in doing those things. And I think there were times when I probably felt pretty guilty about it, but I learned a really interesting lesson about that. Now that my girls are grown, I remember having a conversation with my oldest daughter recently, and she said, the most important thing that I learned from you, watching you balance things, lives and our lives, was that you were really present when you were with us. And that meant a lot for me to hear that from her later on, because there's times I didn't feel so present, to be honest.
I hear you on that one.
I know. So, I was climbing this corporate ladder, and it was interesting. I was kind of hitting that point in my career where, according to the corporate world, I was at the peak of my income earning years.
And can you tell us what that was? What was the peak of the earning careers at that point in corporate world?
About 42 at that time.
Okay.
In my 30s, it was really about getting credibility and, establishing myself and always, exceeding all the expectations everybody had of me and trying to just build that, that kind of way of being in the corporate world. And, those were the hard years, I think, the 30s. And then early in my 40s, when I hit that early 40 time, I'm like, well, what's all this for? And I hit a place of restlessness, I call it. And I think everyone was shocked when I started searching for something different that I could do. Something that made me feel like I was in control, that I wasn't so reliant on somebody else's evaluation of me. Because quite honestly, no matter what they expected of me, I always felt like I had to do more. And so during that restless time, was really interesting. I think it took me about a year of just asking myself, what did I really want to do with my life? And I have to tell you that when I was looking at how my life was set up at the time, the girls were teenagers, just heading off to college, kind of scary people, and they would be financially certainly reliant on me and to get through school. So I felt like all of that added up to me having to stay right where I was. But that actually wasn't true. And I remember thinking,
what do you mean by that? What do you mean by stay right where you were? Do you mean like you felt like you couldn't do something new because your kids were really relying on you to sort of just be who you were still?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. You know, you kind of get into a place where things are working a certain way, and you know that to disrupt that can be a little scary, and especially when it's kind of uncertain on the other side. I didn't want to go from one job to the next, and I had not really heard about a lot of different opportunities other than climbing that ladder I'd gotten on. So the other thing I did was I was really thinking about ducks in a row. Like, what are the ducks I have to put in a row to make everything perfect so I could create a different life for all of us? And at the point where I just knew I couldn't do it anymore. That I remember that day. I really do.
Yeah, so at that point when you left your corporate career, what was the high income that you were, like the highest income that you were making at that point?
So then I would say that I was probably at about $150,000 a year.
Okay, so it was a good six-figure income. And I know that now you and your husband have this business together and you're almost barking on $1 million a year. So tell us a little bit about like what that mind shift was to kind of get out of like the norm and, you know, feel like, okay, like what I'm doing is working, but it's not yet still fulfilling me, and I've got to do something that's more of my passion, and I want to have something that's more sustainable long term. Like what kinds of thoughts were going through your mind, and how did you work that around your family? I know the girls were older at that time, or your kids were older at that time, but like how did that work for you?
I think that, you know, at that time I was wanting to make a closer connection to people than I had been making. So I knew that that was important. I just started really looking at what mattered to me. And I had just gotten married to Kevin, and he loved the idea. He had an entrepreneurial spirit all along. So the idea of actually being in a business with my husband together was my biggest hope and dream. I know some people struggle with that, you know, family-based businesses, but for me, it was the best of both worlds. We're both really different people, but the energy together was so exciting. So partially it was that. Doing something together was, I really had worked with very successful women and been around very successful women and imagined being in that place, you know, that reaching a lot of people and having that experience was more important to me than anything else. So I'll tell you that when I started, it wasn't something where I'm like, I'm going to try it. Let's see if this works. I'll just put my toe in the water. When I made the decision, it was an all-out, I'm in. I'm not looking back. I believe in myself, and I believe in what I'm doing. And I think that was really important to my success because failure wasn't an option. Did I make mistakes? Yes, but failure wasn't. Quitting wasn't. And so I think that I attracted a lot of people into my world that wanted that energy. They wanted that all in, not looking back, doing this mindset. And so I can remember a picture of me with two phones. I had myself and my home phone over here, and I was having two conversations, and that's what it was like in the beginning. It was things happening fast, and it was fun. And the other thing that really changed, I'll say, in the corporate world, they never really cared how well I was. They never cared how happy I was or how balanced I was. Even physically, I don't think it mattered whether I was really exhausted or not. And so when I stepped into a world where I had control of that, that was the most important thing first. And so I actually didn't start my day until 10. And my mornings were to wake up when I was rested, spend some time checking in with my girls, which are the light of my life. And, you know, I think that changed everything for me. I wasn't running on empty all the time.
So I guess what I'm hearing you say is that your advice to people, if they're in that corporate world and not feeling like they're happy or they're struggling, but in their paycheck to paycheck because they need to, is to get out there and follow their dreams, do something that they love, where they can be their own boss, where they know that whatever they're doing matters because they're the ones that are creating it. Whereas when you're working for somebody else, they don't necessarily care. They want you there at a certain time. They want you to stay until a certain time. You have a certain amount of vacation. And when you work for yourself, no matter what that is, hopefully it's something that's making you money. But if you're, if you're putting your full passion in there like you did, you get to wake up when you want. You get to go to bed when you want to. That's one of the things I love about my business. Is like there's days I get up early because I want to. I like to get my workout done at a certain time of the day before. I have this negotiation that's ongoing with my husband. Like I get to go to the gym like Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 and take this class, but like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday I'll go at this time so that I'm around in the morning kind of thing. But it's nice to be able to not have to set an alarm, and it's nice to be able to wake up, like you said, when you're rested, and it's like nice to be able to go to bed when you want to because you don't have to necessarily be somewhere at a certain time. And when you're creating something that's for yourself, you get to make the choice whether you want to be completely present. And hopefully if it's something that is a passion to you and you're really serious about making it happen, you're going to make that step in, not just touch the toes to the water like you said, but really dive and jump in, and it becomes all so much worth it because it's yours.
Right. It's really true, and I think it's been fun to watch how it's impacted my children, who initially watched me for a long, long time pour my heart into something that I was accountable for in a different way. And now that, certainly while they were going to college and now that they're young women, see how they have an entrepreneurial spirit in everything that they do, from watching me have all in approach to my business has been so fun.
I'm really glad you said that because what I love watching with my 5-year-old is her tenacious attitude. I mean, sometimes it drives me nuts and I want to like ring her around, but I mean, she's got so much confidence, and she sees me on a daily basis making all my decisions and being the boss. And I can tell that her personality is really being driven from that now. And I mean, even times when we have like events and we're, on stage, we've got microphones, she's jumping up, she's getting on stage, she's doing what she thinks is her performance. And it's so awesome to see, last year she probably did like 50 flights with me in 1 year because she wasn't in school yet. It's really nice to see her sense of commitment to, taking control of her life even at that age too. So that's a really good point. I'm really glad that you brought that up, is whatever your kids see you doing. It's kind of funny, like when I meet somebody new, they'll be like, I met this girl a couple weeks ago, she knows my brother, and she's like, oh my God, your mannerisms are exactly the same. And I don't even think I look like my brother at all. But, what you probably do is as you're growing up with people, right, like I always like kind of think in the back of my mind, like, what am I doing on my face right now? Because my daughter's probably picking it up and then she's going to create that mannerism. But they do. They pick up everything. And if they I would love them to pick up our confidence, our work ethic, right? And the way that we thrive on our passions and want to do business. That's like so significant. I'm really glad that you brought that up. It was an amazing topic.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think that I've watched them even when they're working, initially a daughter in the fashion industry and a daughter as a winemaker, and I watched them approach that work from a different place, a place of being creative and entrepreneurial, even though they were in a typical job. Now they both have independent businesses of their own. They're in their early 30s, and I get to watch them do something they love. And, I didn't have that path carved out for me when I was 29. And I can only imagine what it would have been like had somebody modeled for me in my early 20s, right, that you could move through your life doing what you love and making a significant difference and being able to call that lifestyle on your own. Not, I used to have to travel in business suits, for goodness sake. That's not fun.
Yeah.
Now I get to wear what I want, and I get to wear the best of what I want. So it's, I just think it's been really fun to watch the impact it's had on my girls.
That's great. So I wish that I had found entrepreneurship also in my 20s. I mean, I'm not complaining. I feel like I'm doing well now, but I mean, I was in that corporate world too, in a sense. I was a lawyer for the first 5 years of my life, and that was the path that my parents pushed me into because they thought, like the only way to make money back then, 20 years ago, was to have this doctor, lawyer type of professional career. And, now it's like, we have so many businesses, or so many ideas, so much creativity in how to create wealth for ourselves. And so it's cool to be able to see so many people doing so many things that they love. And I wish that I had known that back then. And what I want to say to everybody now these days is go for it. Whatever you want to do, go for your dreams. So tell us one last thing before we wrap up. I mean, if you could give moms any type of like must-have advice about, or tips of how to get this done in this crazy world that we're in today, where there's so much intensity and so much busyness and so much going on and so much overwhelm, where we want to have it all. We want to be able to have some type of career and identity, and we want to be able to raise our family and watch our kids, have their first steps. Or like what happened to me this morning, I had my 5-year-old come in and go, "Look at my first wiggly tooth," like we want to have those moments. So what kind of advice would you give people?
I think for women, especially young moms, and I see it with my daughters, is there's a powerful thing that happens when you don't try to do this alone. When you reach out to other women and you surround yourself in a network of women who share the same sense of wanting to be their best selves, wanting to have balance. And balance means a lot of different things to different people, but that sense of feeling fulfilled in what you do and moving from success to significance and not doing it alone. And many stages and ages of my life, I felt alone in what I was doing. And I think in today's world, that doesn't need to happen anymore. So, so much is possible when you really connect with the part of you that still dreams and that goes all in, like I did. And in doing that,
Without
I think my
fear,
other best advice.
Without fear of the consequences.
Right. Right. Well, I think most of our life we're either managing our fears or, kind of our imagination of what can happen, and rarely does it ever do that.
Right.
I never really thought a lot about making mistakes. I just thought about moving forward all the time. And that was such a good example for my kids too, I think. So the whole time you're doing this, you're showing your kids a part of you that is empowered, and I think that's good for them to see. You're showing them that there's lots of options in how they create wealth in their lives, and you're showing what wealthy really is. And so, I hope for every woman, my hope is that they can create an amazing income doing something that they really love, and that is an example for their kids and their families is the most the best life possible.
I think that they definitely can, and I am a firm advocate that if you have a dream, you follow it, and you stand up and you have the courage and you say, "I'm going to get this done. I'm going to do it. I have the power to do it. I have the will to do it. I have the will to succeed. I want it. I'm going to own it. Let's go for it," right?
Right. Exactly. And do it with friends.
Right, right. Well, thank you so much for letting us have you, share you today. Can you tell everybody how they can find you online or follow you?
I think the best way is Womenkind is my company. So whether it's on Pinterest or any other way, Facebook, if you just look for Womenkind or Women, which is WOMENKIND.com. That's right.
Womenkind.com.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Milan. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been great to spend this time with you.
You too. Okay.